Broken but Resonant podcast by Peter Morandi. This is Peter Morandi, and you're listening to Broken but Resonant, a podcast about the stories that form in the aftermath of breaking, about the sounds we make when we stop pretending we're fine. This isn't a podcast about overcoming. It's not about tying things up in a neat little bow. This is about being in it, whatever it is for you. Trauma, disability, burnout, or just the quiet ache of carrying something invisible for too long. It's about what we build when we finally stop hiding the damage, and how sometimes that's where the most honest sound gets through. When I was 16 years old, I suffered a traumatic brain injury. October 24th, 2007. That date is etched into me, though I didn't fully grasp the weight of it at the time. There was no roadmap, no follow-up, no counselor to sit me down and say, this is how life might change now. I was left to guess, and so I did what a lot of us do. I moved forward, quietly, confused, but always forward. I became a luthier. That's someone who builds and repairs guitars, ukuleles, and instruments with soul. I found meaning in restoration. But in 2020, another hit came. This time, a severe hand injury. I was 29. My work, my identity, my therapy, it all relied on those hands. And just like that, it was gone. Again, I adapted. But this year, something broke differently. On June 3rd, 2025, I had what I'll call my final straw moment. I was working in a role that initially felt promising, but over time, the cracks started showing. I disclosed my medical history. I asked for understanding. What I got instead was silence, judgment, and eventually a cold push toward the exit. Let me be clear, I didn't quit because I couldn't do the work. I resigned because the environment made it impossible to do the work safely. I resigned due to good cause. And that day, I hit my limit. It wasn't just about that job. It was the culmination of years of pretending, of coping alone. That resignation became a pivot point. And this podcast, it's part of what came next. Here's our first guest, Jordan, a disabled creative person who's gone through a difficult struggle and pivoted his execution of making, still letting his imagination and creative soul flourish.
I lost most of the use of my right hand in a car accident 5 years ago. At first, I thought I'd never draw again. I was devastated. But then I started experimenting. Voice controls, adaptive styluses, left-handed sketching. Now, I'm a visual designer. I've had to rebuild how I work, how I create, but in some weird way, it made me more intentional. Everything I do now is deliberate. It carries more weight, more meaning. It's not that I overcame anything. I redefined what I needed to thrive.
Our second guest, Lena. A musician who's got a family history of musicians and an instrument passed down through generations.
My grandfather's guitar had been in our family for generations. It was cracked when I brought it to Peter, and honestly, I thought it might be done for. When I picked it up, I saw the repair line. Not hidden, just part of it now. And when I strummed that first chord, I actually teared up. It sounded warmer, deeper. There's something sacred about giving something broken a second life. That guitar tells a story now, one that includes the damage, not in spite of it.
Stories like Jordan's and Lena's remind me why I'm doing this, why I've chosen to stop editing myself down to fit in places I no longer belong. I'm studying design and media now, using the tools I never had growing up to finally say what I've needed to say. I've taken up 3D printing, digital storytelling, audio production. All of it builds towards something I didn't think I was allowed to have. Freedom. Not the fantasy of freedom. The kind where you make peace with the wreckage and keep building anyway. Thank you for listening to Broken but Resonant. If this story landed with you, I hope you'll stick around for the next one. I'll be sharing more voices, more repairs, and more of the music that lives in the aftermath. Until then, stay kind, stay honest, and remember, sometimes the most beautiful sound comes after the break.